Sup guys, this is Iceberg and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm reviewing a real quadrib masterpiece, the Kiwi Ears Septet. These are cool IEMs with the 7 drivers in one shell. Just imagine, 1 hybrid drivers for the bass, 4 BAs for the mids, and the microplanar with a piezoelectric driver for highs and ultra highs. All in open design like a full-size headphones, but in your ears. At a sweet price of $269, which is pretty intriguing for such a driver setup. Well, let's see whether Kiwi Ears has managed to create a harmonious masterpiece or just hype. Let's go. And before we move on, I wanna say a huge thank to the Kiwi Ears team for providing the septet for this review. As always, you'll find all the purchase link in the description below the video. However, I'm not affiliated and my impressions are honest and unbiased. So let's get started. Alright, the septet comes in a branded Kiwi Ears box, a compact and stylish one with a pink to peach gradient, where on the front side we can see an image of the IEMs themselves with the open grille. On this side we see the model specification, and the other side the driver configuration, 1 DD, 4 BA, 1 planar and 1 PZT. Overall, the design of this packaging is familiar to us from their previous models. Minimalistic but tasteful, and I definitely respect the designer. Inside the box we can see IEMs themselves in the foam moldings, a modular cable with the pin connectors, 3.5 and 4.4 plugs, a set of ear tips, a branded case, and some documentation. Now let's talk about the cable, because I'm really excited about it. Kiwi Ears has clearly invested in its quality and it's noticeable at first glance. This is a modular braided 2-pin cable made from OC copper. It's very lightweight, flexible, soft to the touch, without microphonics, and the most importantly, it's modular. This allows you to easily switch between 3.5mm and 4.4mm plugs, giving you a wide range of sources to choose from. Compared to the cable from Aether and Astral, this is a definitely step forward, and I consider it the best cable from Kiwi Ears. By the way, it has its own name, Terrace, and you can purchase it separately. I've left a purchase link in the description below the video. Well, the septet comes with the 2 sets of ear tips, narrow ones for better isolation and the widest ones for a more open sound. They're good, but not as impressive as those from Astral or Aether, for example. In terms of comfort, the narrow ones provide a tight seal, but the sound becomes slightly bassier and less airy, while the widest one, on the contrary, adds space, but the isolation is weaker. I test them with my own and realized that the stock ones are fine. I choose something more neutral, like a Tangzu Tangsen K, to emphasize their signature tuning. In terms of sound, the narrow ones enhance the sub-bass and the mid-bass, making the presentation deeper, while widest one emphasizes the treble and soundstage, but the bass can get lost. Overall, they're suitable, but be ready to experiment. Well, let's get back to the shells, and I'll be honest with you, the septet design really caught my attention with its uniqueness. The shells are metal, lightweight, with the open back in a grill style, with the minimalist Kiwi Ears logo in the center and a brown mesh inside. An open design is rare for IEMs in this price range, and it's not only adds visual uniqueness, but also affects the sound, making it more airy and open. Inside we can see the nozzle that is tall and wide enough for a deep and secure fit, and a small ventilation hole along with a slightly recessed 2-pin connector and another vent on the side. In terms of fit, I would say the septet is universal for all ears. Despite the fact that the shells are medium-sized, their shape has been carefully designed, so there are no sharp corners and everything is smooth and anatomical. The nozzle is positioned at a right angle with a diameter around of 6mm, which ensures a deep and secure fit. In my small ears they feel snugly, without causing discomfort, even after several hours of listening. However, due to the open design, the sound isolation is average, so the septet is not for noisy places, but for quiet listening at home. Just be aware that the sounds leaks out, so if you're listening loudly, people around you can hear your music. I'll be brief regarding the sources. Since septet use a complex driver configuration, you need a powerful source to fully reveal their potential. I've tested them with a bunch of different sources and can say that even a portable deck isn't enough to fully reveal the septet sounds. That's why for this testing, I've used the Fosse Audio K7 and Quintet for 5K. So guys, be responsible when choosing a source for the septet, it's a pretty power-hungry model. Alright guys, before we jump into the most interesting part of these reviews, the sound of this quadrib beast, let's take a quick look at their graph to understand the overall tuning. While the graph shows a fairly smooth and flat curve, without any obvious peaks or dips. In the bass region we can see a slight raise to sub-bass range at 3 to 4 decibels, which gives the lower region a fundamental without drowning out the mids. The mid bass seems to be in the shadow of the sub-bass and is not massive, hinting at a technical and controlled delivery. The mid-range looks flat, with a natural rise towards 2.5 kHz into the articulation and clarity zone, making vocals and instruments more distinct and clear. In the upper frequency region, we can see a wave-length curve between 4 and 8 kHz, which adds detail, sparkle and extension to the treble, but can also add some graininess or emphasize sibilance in vocals, which we will talk about later. After 8 kHz, we can see a drop that can reduce sibilance, but can also reduce reverberation and remove sparkle in the upper register. But does the septet actually sound like the graph shows? Let's find out. In reality, the septet sound is refined, multi-layered and emotionally rich. Their U-shaped sound signatures strike a balance between warmth and detail, with a slight emphasis on low and high frequencies, but without leaning to either side. They're a versatility, but also have a character that makes them unique. When I first put on septet and turned on my playlist, I felt like I was in live concert. The stage is the first thing that strikes you. It's open, spacious, with incredible atmosphere that seems to envelop you. These aren't a typical IEMs that lock the sound in your head, here is brief and flows like you are sitting in the hall with perfect acoustic. The septet creates a feeling of freedom and airiness and it's truly captivating. But at the same time, they don't lose their intimacy, so the vocals and instruments sound so close that it feels like the musicians are playing right in front of you. But don't think that it's just a wow effect. They don't try to overwhelm you with exaggerated bass or sharp treble, but offer a harmonious, detailed presentations where each driver is like an instrument that plays its part in the orchestra. So let's take a closer look at their sound to find out how the septet creates that magic. The bass in the septet is handled by 10mm dynamic driver and it does a great job. The sub-bass in the septet is a punchy, meaty kick that feels like a powerful vibration hitting your chest, but with precise control. The dynamic drivers delivers deep extension, creating a rumble with a dense texture that is controlled but not smeared or pressured. This is not a basshead quality, but rather a refined controlled sub-bass that adds foundation without dominating. However, on a weak source, the sub-bass loss is deep, so you need a powerful deck to feel that. The mid-bass in the septet is energetic and resonant, with control that prevents the lows from becoming muddy. Though, on fast track like drum and bass, you might want a little more punch and speed. It's heavy, with dense, almost tactile texture, but remains in the background, adding depth and space to the soundstage. The 10mm driver works in tandem with the armature drivers to create a punchy and clear bass that hits hard without unnecessary rumble. The drum sounds powerful, deep and so dense that it feels like they're vibrating right inside you. The punch is clear with excellent decay and no lingering tails. This bass is ideal for genres that requires depth and emotion, such as electronic, rock, and even hip-hop, if you appreciate texture rather than extreme impact. I was really surprised at how the open design maintains such a deep and spacious bass, and it's pure engineering magic from Kiwi Ears. It's fantastic. However, if you like the bass that hits you in the head, like some basshead models, then the Septet may seem to be restrained. But for me, their control and accuracy are a real treat, especially for chill listening. The lower mids in the Septet are rich, warm, and slightly recessed, but incredibly detailed. Here vocals and instruments take on a tightness and physicality, like you actually touch that. Let's take Hallelujah by Leonard Cohen for example. The deep husky Cohen vocals sounds like you are hearing not just the lyrics, but the full depth of emotions he puts into his performance. The low midrange emphasizes the velvety richness of his voice, creating a sense of intimacy. The guitars on this track sounds warm and natural, with a clear articulation of each string, but without excessive sharpness. This is the case where the low midrange embraces the ears, adding emotional depth to the track. Instruments such as bass guitar or cello sounds rich and weighty in the lower mids. In the tracks How You Remind Me by Nickelback, the bass guitar adds a groove that is noticeable but doesn't steal the spotlight, leaving room for the vocals and other instruments. The Septet's lower mids create the feelings of a sitting by fireplace, listening to a live acoustical session. The only things worth noting is that in some complex tracks, the lower mids can seem a little muted, but overall they remain clear and harmonious without losing their musical magic. The midrange in the Septet is soulful, lively, and incredibly emotional. 4/8 drivers create a sound that conveys every nuance of vocals and instruments with striking clarity, emphasizing musicality and warmth while maintaining audiophile details that reveal strength from a new side. The midrange here is a perfect balance between clarity and naturalness. The vocals in the Septet are pure bliss. The male and female voice sound soulful, warm, and emotionally, with such articulations that it feels like the singer is standing a couple meters away from you. For example, I took this live by Frank Sinatra, and it just gives me goosebumps. His voice is velvety, rich, with a slight hoarseness and micro details, from slight wheeze to the finest intonations. The Septet reveals the timbral richness of his vocals, allowing you to hear the emotions he puts into the single line. If you love male vocals, listen to the album Nothing But the Best with the Septet. It's like a journey into the Sinatra golden age. The voice is diverse with rich overtones, and the instruments in the background complement the vocals without drawing the attention. Another track that perfectly demonstrates the mid-range is The Silence by the Manchester Orchestra. The vocals here go from quiet whisper to the powerful shout, and the Septet conveys this with incredible emotion, making it feel like you're experiencing these emotions along with the performer. The guitar and piano sounds lively and energetic, creating a tense atmosphere that gives you chills. The female vocals in the Septet are sparkling, velvety, clear, and light, floating above the instruments. It's a bit less detailed than the male vocals, but still expressive, keeping the performance character. For example, in Thank You by Dido, her voice is light, warm, bright, and floats on top like a feather. The Septet emphasizes her emotionally while maintaining character. The vocals are emotional, but sometimes fall slightly behind the instruments, which is typical for V-shaped sound signature. Compared to male, female vocals are slightly less rich in timbre, but still lively and emotional with subtle charm. The upper mids in the Septet are slightly emphasized, where the sound becomes bright, clear and sparkling, but without the slightest hint of harshness that often ruins V-shaped sound signature. They add liveliness and airiness to the vocals and instruments, while remaining comfy even during extended listening. In Bohemian Rhapsody by Queen, the upper mids reveal the chair and Freddie Mercury voice in all its beauty. His vocal sounds piercing, with a slight sparkle that makes every note feel real. This is the case where the upper mids bring the music to the life, making it bright but not tiring. Another great example is Bruce's by Lewis Capaldi. His vocal sounds almost a cappella with incredible emotion and sensitivity. The septet conveys his voice in such a way that you can literally feel every emotion, like he is singing only for you. Instruments such as strings and synth sounds moderately bright but natural, adding depth and atmosphere to the track. The high frequencies in the Kiwi Ears Septet are crystal clear, sparkling, and incredibly airy, with stunning detail but without the slightest hint of harshness or sibilance. This is a model where the highs don't just complement the sound, they enliven it, adding lightness, space, and emotional sparkle to the track. Thanks to the microplanar and piezoelectric driver, the treble in the septet sounds like you're hearing every note in a perfect clarity, and the open design of the shells enhance the feelings of the spaciousness. This region fits perfectly into the septet's U-shaped sound signature, where the treble is slightly emphasized but remains comfortable even during long listening sessions. They do not tire or hurt the ears, but on the opposite, give the feelings of freedom and flight. The lower treble in the septet is what gives the sound its energetic spark and expressiveness. The violins sound crystal clear, with each note of the strings conveyed with a light but distinct ringing. Cymbals and synthetic effect sounds bright and energetic, adding drive to the track. They are lightly emphasized, which highlights the vocals harmonious and percussions, but doesn't become aggressive. However, in the track with the excess of high frequencies, the lower treble can sometimes seem a little more energetic and whistling. The upper treble is where the septet really shows off its airiness and refinement. Here the microplanar and piezoelectric drivers reveal their full potential, adding specialness and lightness to the sound. Synthetic effect and hi-hat sounds with its stunning detail like sparks. You can hear their every movement, every decay, creating a feeling of life, breathing sound. In classical music, the upper treble adds airiness to the string instruments, making them seem to float above the stage and creating an incredibly realistic sound. The septet avoids the typical problem of many models, which is excessive brightness in the upper range. Their treble is smooth but detailed, making them ideal for long listening sessions. If you are sensitive to a sharp treble frequencies, the septet will be a lifesaver. They won't tire you out after several hours. The septet soundstage is wide, deep, and incredibly layered, with such clarity and precision that you literally feel like you're in the center of a musical action. The open design, which is rare for IEMs, play a key role here, adding airiness and space, making the soundstage so realistic that sometimes you forget that IEMs are in your ears and not on your head. The septet creates a soundstage that's enveloping, cinematic, and lively, with a sense of depth. It's like you're standing on the stage with the band, hearing the guitarist playing on the left side, the drummer kicking out back somewhere behind you, and the vocalist singing right in front of you. And all in the compact IEMs. The separation is clear, precise, and perfectly distinct, with each instrument and vocals taking its own place without blending in a muddy mess. The 7 drivers work in harmony, allowing you to hear each element separately, even in complex tracks. Imaging in the septet is precise, accurate, with clear positioning of each sound in the space. You can close your eyes and pinpoint where each instrument or vocals is located, left, right, front, or back. The open design and coherent driver performance make imaging incredibly accurate, just like in the top tier IEMs. Compared to the Kiwi Ears Astral, both sets have a U-shaped sound signature with emphasis on a bass and treble. They are similar in tuning with powerful but controlled bass, present mid, and non-aggressive treble. Septet sounds neutral and bright with an airy, open character thanks to the open design, while Astral is warmer, smoother, with a more grounded, natural tone, closer to meta tuning. Punchy bass, full mids, and relaxed treble without fatigue. In a direct comparison, they are very similar, but the Septet is crisper and more articulate, while the Astral is bolder and warmer. The Septet requires a powerful source, otherwise the bass is flat, while Astral swings more easily but also lacks power. Compared to the Ziigaat Crescent, this is a balanced technical set without any kinks. In terms of graph, they are close to Harman tuning, but the Septet is naturally bright with the airy, crisp character thanks to the open design, while Crescent is warm V-shaped with analog-inspired warmth and vintage charm, punchy and snappy with a big fun from isobaric DD. Septet sounds vivid texture with great air and micro details, which is ideal for thoughtful listening but can be drier in the mids, while Crescent is lush, engaging with battery texture and crisp transient, more forgiving and musical but with a slightly V angle. On weak sources both are flat, but with powerful decks the Septet reveals itself to be an airy and dynamic, while the Crescent is punchy and immersive. In terms of genres, the Septet is suitable for acoustic, jazz and classical music, while Crescent is better for rock, pop and electronic music. They are quite similar, but the Septet is more technical and airy, while the Crescent is warmer and more fun, so they are both top 2 in their price range, but the Crescent is about a $10 more expensive. In conclusion, the Kiwi Ears Septet is like a ticket to a live concert, which turns every track into an emotional trip. Their U-shaped sound signature with a powerful and textured bass, warm melodic mids, and crystal clear airy treble creates a sound that's full of life and detail. The open design provides a wide and three-dimensional soundstage that makes you forget you're listening to IEMs. For $269, the Septet is one of the best IEMs in its class, competing with the models twice its price. Yes, they require a powerful source and a quiet environment, but if you are willing to provide those conditions, they will shine. I highly recommend it for anyone who is tired of the standards and wants emotions with detail. If you're in doubt, just try them out, but my opinion is wow, keep it up Kiwi Ears. Alright, thanks for watching guys. If you enjoyed the review, don't forget to like it, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care, listen to good music, and bye bye.